On today's episode, we discuss Ian Happ, who produced a fantastic season for the Cubs. What grade should he receive for 2022? We just completed the second full season of the Cubs exclusively on Marquee Sports Network. We continue to dig in to all things Cubs TV and prospects, news, and notes, including an update on the Arizona Fall League. That's straight ahead.
Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Cubs alongside Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. Pleased to be with you for a Thursday edition of the show.
Thursday already.
Thursday or Friday Eve, as I like to sometimes say in class. And exciting weeks for the Cubs as Jed Hoyer spoke this week. Tom Ricketts spoke this week. We have a lot of great stuff in store for you on the program. And we're going to continue to bring that to you all off season. Sam, how's it going over there? And we are going to lead off with Marquee today, which I'm excited about.
It's going well. Thank you.
Okay. And
would you like me to make a comment about Marquee, or you want to set me up for that?
Well, I'll set you up for that.
Okay.
I'll try to get my Chris Paul on.
Yeah.
Is that some Kool-Aid?
I'm gonna have a little Gatorade on the show today.
Have a little Kool-Aid. Yeah. As Yordan Alvarez drives one to right field. But Marquee took over in 2020. Okay. That was a shortened season, right? That was also with Len Casper.
Right.
Okay, you remember him?
Yeah,
only a broadcaster that I've looked up to since I was 12.
Yeah, you brought me there to go watch him perform music.
That's right. Last December, we saw Len Casper's band. And, okay, so that's a wash, right? And they made him wear suits, whatever. 2021, first full season, now 22. But 21, they didn't travel, okay, to away games, things like that. This season, 22, was the first full season where it was just normal. They traveled. They did pregame, postgame. They were at the games, all that stuff.
It's underwhelming.
And so we need to evaluate how this went, because any time that Marquee is brought up, whether it's the written word, the spoken word about the Cubs and about television and about media, people have a response. They decide to pick up the phone. They decide to pick up the keyboard. They decide to write in. And clearly, this was a big decision for the team. They had visions of making their own TV network, but it just hasn't stuck the landing. And you thought it was underwhelming in 2022, just in general. And then as we continue to zoom in, what were your thoughts this year on Marquee?
It's the absolute antithesis of why people love Cubs baseball. Right? I mean, that's the problem with it. It's the single greatest mistake Tom Ricketts has made since he's been the owner of the team. I think things will turn around when they start winning, but that's for any network. It's still a bad product. It's corporate. It's forced. It's robotic. It's everything that every reason why a neutral in Hawaii fell in love with the Cubs. This is the opposite, right? WGN. Jack Brickhouse, Harry Carey, Chip Carey, Len Casper, Bob Brenly, Steve Stone, all these guys, all these legends, of course, Pat Hughes on the radio side, Ron Santo on the radio side, all these guys, they're a huge reason why the Cubs are the Cubs, because the Cubs, and I explain this, I don't want to be too redundant. You could go find our old Marquee episode, which is really good, anywhere. Spotify, YouTube.
I'll link it in the description. It was only our third or fourth show ever.
Yeah. Link it in the description. So I don't want to be too redundant, but because the Cubs were on WGN and accessible, especially because they played so many day games, a lot of people not from the city of Chicago fell in love with the Cubs. They were the Cubs were their team. And even beyond the WGM realm, there was this homey feeling, this comfort, this friendship, this companionship with these guys. When we listen to Boog Sciambi, with all due respect, that's not what this is. This is a national scripted Band-Aid, if you will, group just trying to cover up holes, trying to, do you know what I mean? It's just a very choreographed, plain, non-Cubs broadcast. There's no consistency. You can't fall in love with a broadcaster because there's 6 different combinations every 7 games. It's just not authentic, organic baseball announcing and TV watching. I think the camera's I think there's some elements of it that are good. The camera works really good. The actual eye perspective of it is fine, but it's just not Cubs baseball. It never will be. And people are so sensitive of it. And the reason why we're talking about this today, Matt, is because so many people commented yesterday, because we want to talk about what people are fired up about. We want to engage our listeners, and listeners want to talk about this.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a great move to discuss this this afternoon. And, there's a few different things with Marquee that I'd like to get into. I will say I give them a pretty high score for their pre and post game. I thought the last iteration of pre and post on NBC Sports Chicago was abysmal. That was David Kaplan and David DeJesus.
Yeah,
and that was awful.
David DeJesus was awful.
Marquee, from an information perspective, before and after games, is really good. Cole Wright's a great point guard. They've included, the different elements of baseball and even betting elements if you're into that.
Which I'm not, by the way. I don't like that they constantly shove spreads down your throat. But that's a sports. That's not a Cubs issue. That's a sports issue. It's just a side point. It's too much.
When I'm not into it, but I just know that's kind of the game they're trying to play.
Whatever happened to the love of the game?
Well, sure. So I think those components have been good. Although, if you take the magnifying glass out, even with that, you could do another bingo card just with that, because there's a new person next to Cole Wright. If Cole Wright provides stability, the second chair should as well. And it doesn't, because there's a rotation.
Can you imagine? Sorry, go ahead.
And then you walk across the street and you go up to the booth, and it's comical, the amount of combinations. If it's a new network, it's a new product, why should you assume that the listener and the viewer is just going to go there automatically? It doesn't matter that this is the number 3 ranked market in the country. You said it, Sam. Comfort. How is it comfortable as a viewer on a Tuesday night in July, where I arrived to the broadcast at 7:05? Baseball is a companion sport. I've had my day. It was a great day or a bad day, whatever. Now it's time for the Cubs. Okay? Because I'm
best part of the day.
I'm a casual fan. I'm a diehard fan. It doesn't matter what type of
the best part of the day.
So then I'm like open-minded. Okay, Marquee. I'm actually somebody that has Marquee, because that's a whole nother segment as well about access.
Well, we're going to get to that.
We don't know who the broadcasters are. We could hem and haw about Boog, but guess what? I almost wonder, to the casual fan, do they even know that Boog is the play-by-play person?
Probably not.
Because he's not there enough.
Well, can I piggyback off this?
Yeah.
You're so right. And
I'm so passionate about this.
Let's use us as an example. How would we ever gain listeners or gain respect from people if it was you most days and my role was shuffling in and out?
Very slowly, if anything.
If anything, we wouldn't. People don't want that. People want consistency. And there's some people out there that say, hey, I don't like these guys. And it's like, okay, but at least they know what they're getting every time. And then there's a lot of people that say, hey, we like these guys. And when they're having their coffee or whenever they listen, they know exactly what they're going to get. it's no different in the broadcast. Watching the game and listening to these guys are two different things. It's not the same thing. I'm not just tuning in to watch the game. I do that. You guys hear me all the time. I listen to other broadcasts. I have the ability to do that. I don't. If I like, let's say, the Cardinals guys, I'll listen to those guys instead of Boog and JD. And Vin Scully, Harry Carey,
right.
Pat Hughes.
Well, legends, but
what do they all have in common? They were there day in and day out. They were there. And that's Ricketts and Crane Kenny or whoever's job it was to hire Boog. You hired a national broadcaster that never can announce games on Sundays because he has to go do the radio for the national game.
He has a contract with ESPN.
Yes, and if you listen to him announce the national games, it's no different than when he announces the Cubs game. He has no rooting interest at all. And Jason Benetti, the Sox announcer, is a good example of how to juggle that because he does he does like college football and college basketball and stuff on ESPN. But there's a clear difference in his broadcast when he's doing a national game and when he's doing the Sox. Boog has not gotten there yet. It's obvious that he doesn't care. And it's not really his fault because Cubs fans are so passionate, but it's extremely unlikable. It's extremely unlikable. When he makes like a joke or a face and the Cubs are down 5-3 in the 8th inning to Milwaukee, I'm not here for that. And then we'll get into this in a little bit, but the best part, the funniest part about it is all this stuff isn't great. And half the people can't even get access to Marquee. It'd be one thing if everybody had it, or it'd be one thing if it was this great product, but you had to really work hard to access it. It's not a great product, and it's almost impossible unless you have Comcast to get it.
Yeah, so just quickly to follow up on that, the footprint for cable is pretty large. They're on Xfinity and DirecTV. The big issue is where you've cut the cord. Because then they're nowhere. The only streamer that the Cubs are on is Fubo TV. Okay, and I would dare you to spell that.
FUBO TV.
Okay. But, the point is that it's in one streamer spot, not Hulu, not YouTube TV. Not any of these. And so, yeah, I get it's a big footprint if you just have regular network television, but that's not everybody anymore.
It's not a good enough product to not be everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. The more places, the better. And so should we keep going or do this on the other side? We're producing here on the show. I'm sorry.
You're in charge here. I'm just a guest.
Okay. So I think we're going to do it on the other side.
Okay, do it then.
Okay, because there's a lot more we have to do.
Yeah, it's a long segment. That's fine.
So we're going to
get adjust on the fly. We could do news and
notes.
A lot
more, including my takes on Boog, Jonathan Sciambi.
We could do news and notes, November 22nd.
Right. Okay, I'm having a little bit of a tech issue here. Okay, here we go. All right. Before we get to more Marquee discussion, we want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Rhone. Have you noticed the pains of dress shirts nowadays? What about the hassle of changing clothes for different activities? Why hasn't there been a dress shirt that just makes you feel good? Well, now there is. The dress shirt was due for a radical reinvention, and Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Rhone's commuter shirt is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible shirt known to man, and here's why. Rhone's comfortable four-way stretch fabric provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy what life throws your way, from your commute to work to your 18 holes of golf. It's time to feel confident with a wrinkle-free shirt without the hassle. And with Rhone's wrinkle release technology, wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the shirt. It's really that easy. And with Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day long. And on top of that, Rhone is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. The commuter shirt can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to Rhone.com/locked-on and use the promo code locked-on to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to rhone.com/locked-on and use the code locked on. It's time to find your corner office comfort. Where I haven't found comfort yet is with the Marquee Sports Network, as we continue to talk about that here on Locked On Cubs. The Jason Benetti analogy is super solid, Sam, because I'm not asking the play-by-play person, if they have multiple gigs, to go from professional to amateur or from the stage to the sandbox, but it should sound different. It should. It should have a Cubs fan feel. And when
it has to, Matthew.
Now when there's just a big moment, even pitch to pitch, I would even go pitch to pitch. It has to have a Cubs fan feel. For the life of me, I will never understand why Kevin Kugler did not get a run at this job. Maybe he did. I would love to reach out to him this offseason. He's a major play-by-player for Fox. He would have been fantastic in this role. He's right down the road in Omaha. That would have been a fabulous move. He does the NFL literally every Sunday. He's done college games for BTN and Fox for years.
Sure.
Don't know why he didn't get more play. I thought that was incredibly dumb. Boog is a huge name in the industry. There's people that cover media that have Boog number one on their chart. He's the best play-by-play man. And it's not that I can't see that. It's that I don't want to see it because this is a local broadcast. Baseball is a local sport. You could watch the national feed. I'm doing it tonight because the playoffs are on. But that's the only option in the postseason, right? The radio feeds are still local, and allegedly that's why Len Casper left because he wants to call a postseason game in a big moment. But it needs to feel Cubs. It needs to feel comfortable, and I think it hasn't. And it's only hampered, it only made worse when you do the bingo card and all the combinations. Because if you were grading JD, what could you make the case that his grade has changed from, let's say, the last normal season with Len, 2019, and now this 2022 season?
Yeah, because
because it's just a different feel.
Because he's working with a guy that sets the tone. JD is very vanilla. And so, first of all, I agree with everything you said, so I'm not even going to – there's no reason you covered everything. JD is very vanilla, and he is going to be a product of who his play-by-play person is. Yeah. And so he has now become a product of Boog, which is kind of jokey around, very average, very pedestrian, where I thought he was much stronger. And again, winning does play a part in this, right? Because I thought the same thing about JD in 2013 and 2014. And then when the Cubs started winning, I liked him a little bit better because that's just natural. It's easier to be excited when you're announcing a team that you know is good. But it's still, first of all, Boog in 2020 was announcing a team that made the playoffs. So they're still, it's really only been a year for Boog, or a year and a half of where he hasn't been announcing. That 60-game season, that first year. Oh, that was Len. Duh.
That was Len. Yeah.
Yeah. But the first half of Boog, where the Cubs were in first place, I think in 2021, a little bit in May, there was no difference. It wasn't good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think we were already giving some opinions at that point. Yeah. The other thing is this, Al Yellen over at, Bleed Cubby Blue has done some nice work about Marquee via writing. And he actually interviewed Boog shortly after he was hired in early 2021. And Boog was quoted as, the broadcast isn't going to sound like a math class. And as Al has pointed out, now we're going to build on what happened to that, dude.
Yeah, it's so nerdy.
You bring up numbers on ground balls.
Exit velocity, strikeout percentage, and then every single thing that he does, it's a setup for a generalized idea, like a national broadcast, a rule change, or a story about a guy that's gotten better, or why. It's like, we just want to talk about our team and how we're going to win. I don't need to hear background stories about this guy doing this and this on the Reds to get to an 822 OPS, which is 25% above league average. I know how to analyze the statistics. That's part of our job, right? OPS plus. You don't have to explain that to me. We know what that is. And if we don't, there's plenty of instruments to get us to that. Your job is to make me excited about today's ball game.
That's right. That's right. And, Boog and JD are signed through 2023. So we're resigned to their fates for this season, at least. But perhaps there is change on the horizon. I mean, that's total speculation, but
it has to be better. In summation, before we get to Ian, and we'll do news and notes on Christmas. Ian, in summation, it's Tom Ricketts' biggest mistake since he's gotten here. It hasn't worked out. It hasn't worked out so far. The team needs to play better for us to really fairly evaluate, but it's something I don't see Cub fans really ever falling in love with anytime soon, unless there's a better middleman, a better messenger across the way, announcing a better, they need a face of the network. And right now they don't have one. That's a summary.
We grade Ian Happ next. Today's episode is also brought to you by Built Bar. I'm so excited I could barely speak. If you haven't tried Built Bar Puffs yet, you are depriving yourself of one of life's greatest joys. And guess what? There's a new flavor. Let me introduce you to your new favorite, cookie dough chunk puffs. You've had it, right, Sam?
Yep, very good.
They have a light and chewy texture, real cookie dough chunks, and of course, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. All the joys of eating cookie dough without the hassle of making it. Plus, it's healthy for you as well. Cookie dough chunk puffs are only 160 calories and have a whopping 15 grams of protein in them. Run to Built.com to snag a box for you and the fam. It's the perfect treat, or you can find a really good hiding place and just hoard them for yourself. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you, whether you need a snack for your workout, a late night treat, or just need to grab a quick bite. Built is the perfect protein bar, and they taste better than a candy bar. So ditch the calories, the fat, and the sugar, and grab yourself a Built bar right now. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON15.
I'd like to kick off this part of the show. So
please.
Off the air, Matt and I have briefly, bickered about Ian Happ's 2022 season. And, we may talk about this a little bit more because we went kind of long on the Marquee stuff, because I think it's important to say, especially after Jed Hoyer admitted in his press conference here last week that he was considering extending Ian Happ. Mm-hmm. So, Ian Happ had a good season this year. Nobody would debate that. The question is, and the debate that we have is, how good of a season did he have? Matt, I'd like you to grade his season, letter grade like you do in class, and give me a couple reasons why, please.
Well, I give him an A-.
Okay.
That's going to be a 90 to 92%. Ian Happ slash line this year, 273, 344, 444. Sure. 17 home runs, 17 home runs, 42 doubles, 72 runs batted in. Led the team in doubles, RBIs, and walks. He's done that each of the last 2 years. He was an all-star selection this year. This year, he had the most extra base hits in his career. He dramatically improved his switch hitting.
Yep.
Hit over 300 against lefties this year. Dramatically improved his defense. One of the best left fielders of the game. Perhaps a finalist for the Gold Glove. We'll see here next month. And he's durable. He's led the team in games played each of the last 2 years as well. He played 159 ball games in 2022. So, I appreciate Ian Happ because what?
Come on. I agree.
I had an A- season.
Yeah, no, I don't Yeah.
Or A. I want to give him an A, but they lost a lot.
You know why I'm mad at you right now.
Why?
And I love you like a brother. Okay. I give Ian Happ a B flat. But why I'm mad at you is I set this up like we have this huge disagreement. I mean, you said a couple weeks ago you thought it was one of the best seasons post 16.
But I looked up those numbers. That's not true.
Yeah, I know it isn't.
Okay.
So I was hoping we'd have a little bit of a debate. But
It's one of the best seasons since 2021.
But then you come on here and you make all the logical sense in the world. Now I have nothing to debate. I'd give him a flat B. 4.3 WAR, much improved in left field. Oh, switch hitting was good. Why I give him a B and not a flat A? Very simple. Power. He only hit 17 home runs. That's not nearly enough for somebody with Ian Happ's power. What he was able to accomplish this year was cutting down his strikeout rate dramatically. But in doing so, and I sound like hypocritically contradictory here, I sound like Mr. Boog Sciambi, but this is a podcast. I'm allowed to give this information consistently. In lowering his strikeout rate, he dramatically increased his ground ball rate, which really hurt his home runs. So I think next year for Ian Happ, and this is why I would not extend him until like mid-season, I would love to see what that looks. I want to see Ian Happ put a full year together. The 271 batting average, keep it. The 342 OBP, keep it. Let's get that slug over 500, and now we're cooking with some serious gas and a guy that commands a major extension and is a franchise type of player. Right now, I think he's just a complimentary piece on a really good ball club.
I think the lack of an extension could also be attributed to the glut of outfielders that are coming up.
Right.
Do you value these players then with more control, less of a cost? Because Ian Happ's probably going to make about $10 million in arbitration this year,
which we'll talk about.
And who's to say the Cubs don't trade him this offseason, although they have a lot of prospects. They might have had that opportunity.
I want you to try. I challenge you to think of that differently. What if the Cubs were to extend Ian Happ and then the guys that are the glut that we're talking about all become massive trade assets if he works out, if Happ works out. Like, it goes both ways. People overdo we have so many outfielders. We have so many they're all assets. It's just how you allocate them. No, I'm not beating you up. I'm talking to our audience more than I'm talking to you. They're all assets. It's just how you allocate the assets and get them to help you win baseball games on the field. Ian Happ is a good enough player to have a consistent 820 to 830 OPS and to hit 25 to 30 tatas.
Well, the consistency, and watch your language. Consistency is
it's home runs.
I know. I was hoping you would laugh at that.
No, and one quick thing, he needs to be a better clutch hitter.
Consistency is where Happ has separated himself. Now, can he get to that next level? Here's a guy that was in Des Moines for part of 2019.
Yeah, he's a good player right now. He could be great.
2020, 21 had a little more power, and then this year was really consistent. So, yeah, I give him a high grade. Do you think that's in there? Like, in your heart of hearts, do you think it's in there?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
I think
he should be the left fielder then for the next great Cubs team.
But I think it's in there, but he's got to get it. Time's running, and that's why I give him a B, because he's flashes that it's there. But I want to see like his 2020 year, that 60-game stretch. That's the Ian Happ I think you could see over 162. A guy that finished in the top 5 or 6 in MVP voting. He's good enough. He's good enough. He's got all the tools. Now it's just putting it all together. That's why it's like Dave Portnoy's pizza ratings. You can't give it 10. I can't give if I give him a flat A, then what am I going to give him next year if he hits 29?
That's true. That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, when you give a guy an A, you're saying that's the best that guy's got. There's nobody on this baseball team this year that was the absolute best they could get, except I give Horner, and we'll get to that. But Horner was the closest.
We recap, or we ask for all your thoughts on Marquee, but also comment below on the YouTube side your grades on Ian Happ as well,
and throw in some suggestions for Marquee, because I got nothing.
Ooh. Yeah, just on anything, broadcast, production, anything. Absolutely. Coming up on Friday's episode, we break down the shortstop market and tell you who each of us would want the Cubs to
Matt
sign.
And Sam. Sam and Matt and Sam.
Looking forward to that. Thanks,
Some
everybody.
Some people kind of say it's like Paul McCartney and Lennon.
Yeah, I believe you've just said that, but now it's out there.
Seinfeld, Larry David.
Yeah, people, we got – oh, wow. These
You
are
know
like
what I mean?
all-time duos, by the way.
Yeah.
All-time duos. Wow. Well, you could put your favorite duo in the comments as well.
Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis.
Oh, I think someone actually has brought that up on Twitter. And follow us over there as well. Fun Thursday episode. We get back to it on Friday with the shortstop market and more. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.